Atomic Habits by James Clear. Summary. Can't get rid of your bad habits? Are you feeling frustrated and almost giving up because you've given everything but still failed? Overcome that failure today with insights from Atomic Habits, one of the best self-help books out there. It is high time you set yourself up for remarkable results by getting 1% better every day. From smoking and overeating to procrastination, excessive social media use, negative self-talk, interrupting others' speech, alcohol or drug abuse, and even nail-biting, the list of bad habits that could be plaguing you is endless. But you know what? The problem isn't you, but your system. More on that in a while. In this video, we take a closer look at Atomic Habits, one of the most comprehensive self-help books on the market. Authored by James Clear, this book offers a practical guide on how to break bad habits, create good habits by making one tiny change at a time, and more importantly, maintain your progress. Shall we start? Great. What are atomic habits? Well, atomic habits is a concept introduced by James Clear that simply refers to minor and easy-to-do improvements in everyday behavior. According to him, implementing atomic habits can cause significant changes in your life because they compound, or in other words, build on each other. What do I mean? Basically, when you perform one good behavior, it leads to another and then another, creating a compounding effect that eventually transforms your life for the better. Let me give you an example to give you a better picture. Suppose you say one nice thing to your spouse. In this case, there won't be much of a difference at the moment. However, if you keep at it over time, your partner starts to feel appreciated and loved, which can significantly improve your relationship. And Clear is not alone on this. Charles Duhigg, a productivity expert, noted in his book The Power of Habit that different habits can also build upon each other. He contends that changing one core habit can set off a chain reaction that motivates you to change other habits because habits are interconnected. Hence, changing one can have a domino effect on others. The 3 levels of habits. So, in Atomic Habits, Clear identifies 3 levels of habits: goal-driven, system-driven, and identity-driven habits. He says that these habits play a role in shaping your behaviors and ultimately determining the direction of your life. Let's briefly discuss them to better understand what they are all about. 1. Goal-driven habits. Clear defines goal-driven habits as behaviors that you do with a specific objective in mind. This is probably the most common way people try to change their behavior. Let me explain how it works. When you set a goal, you can determine the actions you need to take to achieve it, right? Take scoring an A on a test as your goal, for example. In this case, you might decide to study for 2 extra hours each day leading up to the exam. 2. System-driven habits. According to James Clear, system-driven habits prioritize the systems or processes that will help you achieve your goals rather than focusing solely on the goals themselves. For instance, developing a study routine is a system-driven habit because it emphasizes the process of studying rather than just aiming to get an A on a particular test or in a specific course. 3. Identity-driven habits. So these behaviors align with your beliefs about who you are and what kind of person you want to be. For example, if you see yourself as a good student, you're more likely to establish a study routine because that's what good students do. How to change your habits. Right off the bat, I'll tell you this. Clear suggests that to create lasting changes in our behavior, we must develop identity-driven habits. Clear argues that many of us try to change our behavior by building goal-driven habits. But this approach doesn't lead to long-term change because once we achieve our goal, we stop performing the behavior. As such, our actions become finite, and we fail to develop the long-term habits needed for consistent improvement. For instance, let's say you spend 2 extra hours every day studying to ace a test. Once you pass the test, you'll likely stop studying since there's no further need for it. As a result, you miss out on developing long-term habits that could help you improve your overall academic performance. Besides, letting goals drive your habits may lead to the arrival fallacy, where you believe achieving your goals will bring lasting happiness. But while this happiness will come, it is often temporary, and you end up constantly chasing new goals in a never-ending cycle. How habits form. the 4 stages. You know how important habits are, but have you ever wondered how they form? Well, according to Clear, habits are made up of 4 stages that work together to create a behavior that becomes automatic. First, there's the cue, which is what your brain recognizes as an opportunity for a reward. It can be anything from a smell or a sound to an event or interaction. Next up is the craving, which is the emotional relevance attached to the cue. Once your brain recognizes the cue, it anticipates a change in your physical or emotional state and craves the satisfaction that comes with it. Then comes the response, which is the actual behavior or habit you perform to get that satisfaction. Your brain prompts you to take a specific action that it believes will give you the feeling of satisfaction you're craving. Finally, there's the reward. This is the satisfaction you get from the action you took. Your brain creates a pathway from the cue to the feeling of pleasure, and every time you experience the same cue, your brain will prompt you to perform the same action, making the habit more automatic. So, for example, let's say you come home from work stressed, and you want to feel more relaxed. You might reach for a beer to help you unwind. The cue is coming home stressed. The craving is to feel more relaxed. The response is drinking a beer, and the reward is feeling less stressed and more relaxed. Over time, your brain associates coming home stressed with drinking a beer, making it more likely that you'll continue this behavior and form a habit. Tweaking each stage to your advantage to create new, beneficial habits. To transform your present habits into better ones, Clear presents 4 keys, one for each stage. Key 1. Cues. Identify and use them to your advantage. Clear believes that becoming aware of your cues is crucial to creating good habits. But since habits are often automatic, it's easy to overlook the cues that trigger them. So, he recommends listing all your current daily habits to help you understand how your behaviors are interconnected. This way, you can recognize the cues that lead to your current habits and the rewards that follow. Once you've done this, you can look for ways to use your existing habits to cue new desired behaviors. For instance, if you want to drink more water, you could try drinking a glass of water right after turning off your alarm each morning. By doing this consistently, you can make it a habit and eventually drink more water without even thinking about it. Key 2. Craving. Increase the appeal of a new habit. You can also form new habits by affecting the second stage of habit formation, which is the craving. According to James Clear, cravings lead to action because you want a reward, not because you enjoy the reward itself. Let's say you eat chocolate for the first time. Your brain releases a neurotransmitter called dopamine after you experience the pleasure of eating chocolate. Now, whenever you see chocolate, your brain releases dopamine because you anticipate the pleasure of eating it. It's this anticipatory surge of dopamine that drives you to act, not the dopamine you feel after you experience pleasure. Key 3. Response. Decrease the difficulty to improve your habits. It's also helpful to focus on the third stage of habit formation, the response or the behavior itself. Clear opines that we tend to stick with behaviors that are easy to do, so to stay motivated, he recommends making the behavior as effortless as possible. For example, if you want to read more before bed, you could place a book on your pillow after waking up each morning to remove the obstacle of getting a book before bed. Key 4. Reward. Make it fulfilling. Clear recommends focusing on the final stage of habit formation, which is the reward, when it comes to forming new habits. He contends that the reward must be fulfilling for the habit to stick, because if you don't enjoy the results of your efforts, you won't keep trying. Clear also suggests visualizing your progress, like marking a day on a calendar, to see your accomplishments visually. Tracking your progress can also feel rewarding in itself, and the pleasure experienced through that act becomes a cue to want to feel that satisfaction again. How to break bad habits. As I've already said, Clear suggests a habit goes through 4 stages: cue, craving, response, and reward. If you disrupt one of these stages, you can break a bad habit. Here's how. First, you can make the cue unnoticeable. For instance, if you have a habit of eating junk food while watching TV, you can remove the junk food from your house so that you won't see it. Secondly, decrease the appeal of the habit. If you're trying to stop drinking soda, You can attach a note to the bottle reminding you of its adverse health effects. Thirdly, increase the effort of the habit. For example, if you want to stop checking your phone first thing in the morning, you can place your phone in another room so that you have to get up to check it. Lastly, make the reward unfulfilling. Let's say you want to stop overspending on clothes. You could start paying for clothes only in cash, so you feel the pain of spending money and can't ignore the cost. How to ensure your new habit continues to work for you in the long run. With habits, there is a chance of getting bored at some point, leading to motivation loss and even abandoning the habit. To combat this, James Clear suggests making the behavior harder to keep your brain engaged and motivated to improve. Even so, you must find the right level of challenge. If it's too easy, you'll lose interest, and if it's too hard, you'll become frustrated and give up. All said, Clear suggests these tips for making habits work for you over time. Making a habit difficult enough such that you succeed about half the time creates an intermittent reward system that keeps things novel and reduces boredom. If you're bored by a behavior that you can't make harder, introduce a fun, new element to keep things exciting. Building momentum into your system and making 1% improvements to keep your behavior novel and your progress continuous, preventing you from getting stuck. What's the main takeaway from this marvelous book? Clear's book shows that small changes in our habits can have a significant impact on our lives, even though the effects may not be immediately noticeable. The author gives examples of how repeated behaviors can compound over time and lead to major results. Now, what do you think about James Clear's Atomic Habits? Let me know in the comments section. While at it, like the video and share it widely. Remember to subscribe too for more content like this. Thanks for watching.